And we're live again.
Hey guys, sorry about that. It's really hot in California, and we turned off the air conditioner in here so it wouldn't make as much noise. So apparently the laptop overheated and shut the show down. So apologize for that. It's not a perfect system, so I hope you guys can bear with us when we try to figure out stuff. I imagine a lot of complications that we're having will go away once the weather stops being so darn hot here in California. But I hope you guys can hear me out there. You still there, Taylor?
I'm right here. Hope you guys can hear me just fine. I'm going to retune in to the
Can they
live
hear you?
chat. Let me see.
So once again, I know this isn't riveting chat, but reality.
So,
So,
yeah, let us know in the chat.
so are you back? I don't talk again, so you can see yourself when you talk.
See myself.
Okay.
So, technologically, we should be.
Okay, so we're good. Well, we're going to continue now. So once again, apologize for that, and we will try to keep these things to a minimum, but they keep coming up, so it's all a learning curve. So anyway, long story. Tunnels. Tunnels were awesome, fun. We had all the kids in the neighborhood come by, hang out at the fort. We'd have battles and all kinds of cool stuff, comic books, you name it. And then it all kind of came to a crashing halt one day when my dad finally went out into the backyard, which he didn't go often, probably because he was scared of finding exactly what he found. But he was walking, and one of the tunnels collapsed under his feet, and he was like, "What?" And so we just trailed it back, and there were like these little mole trenches dug all around the backyard because we had been busy doing stuff, and so he didn't want anybody to, I guess, die in a collapsed tunnel. Even though these things weren't that deep, I don't think it would happen. I think he was probably exaggerating a little bit, but it was an excuse that the clubhouse had to come down, and the fun came to an end, and it only came to an end for a while, and then we just set up in a neighbor's house and used all that wood and stuff there. So we built another clubhouse. So I hope this brings back some of your memories of when you were kids. I don't know how many people have clubhouse memories, but they were some of the best ones that I had growing up. And Taylor sounds like she had some as well. She lives out here, so it's a pretty rural area for California. I was I was LA County, but here was a lot of farms and stuff, especially when she was growing up. So there was a lot more kind of Huck Finn, kind of Tom Sawyer stuff, I imagine, going on out here.
Yeah, it was mostly dairies and stuff at that time, as like cliche and old as that sounds.
Yeah, it's weird because um, my wife and I moved out here 25 years ago, and it was all like dairy farms and orange groves, and now it's built up to the point where you wouldn't even really know that that had existed. So anyway, um, so I don't know. We were talking. What was it? Was it about Gary Fisher, Taylor?
Yes, we were talking about the celebrity known as Gary Fisher, a celebrity that you, Art, have met in person.
Yeah. If you guys don't know, Gary Fisher is Carrie Fisher's dog, and he's kind of a weird brownish black and a little ugly. I'm not good with like dog mixes and stuff like that, but apparently she loved the hell out of him and he loved the heck out of her.
Oh.
So I remember doing some conventions and she would always be with Gary, and I remember this one show that I was kind of more enamored with meeting Gary than Carrie, because Gary was just kind of he took over the convention, and so Taylor and I were talking about just like um, after that. This was like some years back. That would it be funny to do or interesting to do a reality show like with Gary Fisher like as the star, like you just follow Gary around like paparazzi and just like day in the life of Gary Fisher and see how he's treated and all this other stuff and we came up with all these different ideas. So what were some of the ideas, Taylor, that we had for Gary?
Well,
The
pet
adventures.
celebrities are kind of a big deal these days. And we were talking about how Gary, since he joined Carrie on like all of her adventures, like whenever you saw her, you'd see him. So we thought if you followed him around, it'd almost be like a behind the scenes thing. Even now, because I think he went on set even after her passing. So you would see sort of like behind the scenes of movies and events that he attended with her and things of that nature, all from Gary's point of view.
Yeah, it would be kind of like maybe even like the handheld would be attached to Gary, so you could get Gary's point of view on what's going on and things like that. I think it would have been like a lot of fun and a hoot. And I don't know, just looking back at it, if it was on the air, I don't know if this would have been a good or a bad thing, but it would
Oh,
have chronicled all the way up to like her passing. Because I heard what was because we were kind of interested, like that Gary went through like some withdrawal and some depression after she left
yeah.
and stuff like that. And what's his backstory? It was her daughter's dog or something like Carrie
Yeah.
Fisher's daughter's.
I don't know how she ended up owning him, but I know originally it was her daughter's dog, and then I guess he just took to her and he was with her up until the very end. R.I.P.
Yeah, so I don't know. I wish we could still get that going. I wish we could go back in time and do the Gary Fisher show because I think it would be a lot of fun. I don't know, man. People, when that dog came into the room, everybody lost their poop. That dog was treated like royalty. I remember like cars pulling up and Gary coming in or Gary leaving the car, and it was a big deal. Everybody kind of wanted to get a glimpse of Gary, and I just thought it would be hilarious and it would be a lot of fun. Um, and then, God, what was it like recently? A friend of mine, what's his name? Tom Bancroft, a Disney animator. I think he's got because there's this character, this internet sensation named Doug the Pug,
That's right.
and so he's got a show. Is it called It's Doug the Pug?
Yes, cleverly named It's Doug the
It's
Pug.
Doug the Pug, and so I think he's doing that as animation. So I'm like, oh man, that's like the Gary Fisher idea. And once again, brilliant ideas like just like 2 seconds before somebody else snags it up and does something cooler with it. But I saw the early animation for it. It looks really amazing. Tom and the crew did a pretty amazing job on Doug the Pug, and I don't think that's a show yet. I think Doug's shopping it around.
Yeah.
And I think the animation was up for a while, but somehow it got pulled. So I don't know the story behind that.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, because it was actually when you came in that day. What was this? This was mid last week, or was it earlier this week? Was it Monday of this
Uh,
week?
I think it was mid last because you told me about it, and then when we were looking it up, we couldn't find it anywhere, but there was his designs and stuff still up, just not the little animated
The
piece.
little trailer, yeah. Because I even posted it, and it was all pulled. So I'm not sure if Doug decided that he didn't want his imagery up yet. So I'm sure Doug has some serious control issues since he's coming into this as a celebrity already.
It's a prima donna.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got his what do they call them, writers or whatever, his list of things. I will not do this. I will do this. I want this in my dressing room.
Yeah,
so
Doug
on
the
and so
Pug.
on. Doug the Pug. But I think, just to be honest, and maybe it's because we came up with it, Taylor, but I think the Gary Fisher show would have been superior to Doug the Pug. What do you guys think? I'm not sure if we sold the Gary Fisher show as well as we could have. But,
yeah, would you guys rather see the adventures of Gary Fisher as a first-person camera show and his adventures? Like, let's just say if we had done this and it really did lead up to like Carrie's last moments, you would have seen like her life and stuff from his point of view and their beautiful bond. Or would you rather just watch animated Doug the Pug?
I don't know, when you put it that way, it sounds kind of sad. Let's watch a dog up to the point of losing his master.
Aww.
Yeah, let's not frame it up that way.
I meant it as touching.
A celebration of a life
Ooh.
through Doug the Pug's eye, or not Doug. Ooh, that was not good. Through Gary Fisher's eyes, his little beady doggy eyes.
Aww.
Yeah. So, I guess is this enough, Doug the Pug, Gary Fisher dog show?
The chat wants to know if Doug the Pug fights ninjas.
No, but Gary could.
Ooh.
No, Gary could fight. He could fight stormtroopers.
Oh my gosh.
That guy's like grandfathered in or grandpa'd in.
Oh, I see what you did.
Because he's a dog. And yeah. Ooh. You know what? We need suggestions for the Gary Fisher show now. That was a good one.
Well, the chat says that Gary wins.
Well, he would always have to win because it's his show. That would be weird if he didn't. Gary loses every episode. Oh, Gary loses every episode and then runs into the lap of Carrie.
Aww.
Yeah, and then she's like, "It's okay, next time." So it teaches kids how to lose graciously. Gary could be like a good teaching device for kids.
It's important that kids learn how to lose early on, I think.
Damn it, why did Carrie have to die?
Ruin this whole pitch.
If she was still around, we could have pitched this to her.
She would have loved it.
I think she would have dug it. Yeah, we would have got insight on her life, for better or for worse.
Aww.
Because I don't know. I've heard stories. I'm not going to go into it because it's not a good place to talk ill on the gone and forgot. Well, not forgotten, but.
In the end, it's about Gary.
It's just about Gary and the celebration of Gary's life. And he did it all. Oh, the title, he did it all for a snack.
Aww.
I was going to say a Scooby snack. He did it all
Gary
for
snack.
a Gary snacks. Could you imagine what a Gary snack would be? Pretty killer.
Well, he has that giant tongue that's like out of his face, so.
Yeah, but I mean, his owner's rich, and she loves the hell out of him. He could have anything. Like I don't know. I can't think of what dogs would like. I'm not an animal person, as you can obviously tell.
I mean, they'll eat anything, but you're right about having like a rich owner. Like he probably ate better than us.
Yeah, but they could have been like cheeseburgers from like In-N-Out every day or something.
Ooh.
He probably slept on a golden throne. It would look like the Emperor's throne from Star Wars.
Ooh, back in theme.
Every time he sits on it, you hear the Emperor theme. So every time Gary like gets into his little bed, you hear dun 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 dun.
Softly, so it's like soothing.
Yeah, and then he falls asleep.
But
That's what motivates him to fight the ninjas or the stormtroopers for the next day. Because he loses every episode, apparently.
Well, maybe it could be animated then.
Ooh, he has fantasies.
Ooh.
Star Wars fantasies. We'd have to get Lucas and Disney to sign off on this now. I think it'd be no problem.
They're letting people make everything now.
You know what? Kathleen Kennedy has shown such bad like leadership. We could probably get her to okay and sign off on it.
Or good leadership if she's going to do that.
In the case of the Gary Fisher show, yes, good leadership, inspired leadership.
You know, it's the only way she can redeem herself at this point.
You're right. We need to make this happen.
Pixel says, oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Pixel says Gary should force choke cats in the backyard. Jeez.
Oh, God. Although that would be hilarious, especially if the cat was in a tree. So then you get the cat like cat, 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 and then we get the fall out of the tree. Because I don't know, animals falling from trees is always funny to me.
Like the video of the koala that gets thrown out of the tree, and it's hilarious.
Koalas are always falling out of trees because they're stoned all the time. They're eating the eucalyptus.
Which they're not supposed to eat.
It's probably killing them as well, just like the stupid pandas eating all the bamboo and stuff.
Yeah, they don't do drugs, kids.
Yeah. We have a theory here at the studio that pandas actually want to die because they seem to do everything counter to survival.
They won't mate. They can eat meat, but they refuse. Most of their diet is made up of a food that really isn't even, like, made for them to digest all the way.
Yeah, there's no nutritional value in anything that they eat, and they won't eat the good stuff.
I know some people like that, though.
I'm like that.
I relate to that a little bit.
I'm much like a panda. I will be extinct in no time at all.
Well, no, because you mated. You created a child, so you have you still have survival instincts.
That's true. Although sometimes it doesn't feel like I did much.
Aww.
It was fun though.
Well, that's all they need to do, and they won't do it. So
yeah, they won't even have fun. They do like pushing each other down like ramps and stuff. So they are kind of like they're like the Three Stooges of bears.
They're nature's stooges.
Yeah, they're always like hurting each other and pushing each other down and stuff like that. So, yeah. What does this have to do with comic books? That's what everybody's asking themselves right now.
Well, they don't know that we're not going to do something comic book related. Pandas are black and white.
Ooh.
Just saying.
Pandas are black and white. I like that.
They're like the mascot animal.
You know what? Everybody's gonna like after this this chat, they're gonna hang up and they're gonna go, Art and Taylor, couple nuts, and then they're gonna think like while they're eating dinner later tonight, and they're gonna go, Gary Fisher show. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to that. There is something to that. Watching an ugly dog for an hour on cable.
That's the perfect.
Ugly animals are like a big sell. Like cute ones do well too, but like I don't know why there's like a built-in audience for ugly dogs.
That's true.
I think pugs are ugly.
Ooh, pug ugly.
You're pug ugly, not you, but whoever. I don't know. I don't know who that was directed at.
Oh, Nasser wants to know who Gary is, because he just arrived.
Hey, Nasser, how you doing? If you haven't checked out Nasser's Indiegogo, check it out.
Yeah, Stardust. Go ahead and... Is this the last day, I think? I think. Gary Fisher is an animal celebrity that Art had the pleasure of meeting, who was owned by Carrie Fisher.
Gary Fisher is the dog of Carrie Fisher. Yeah, and I did a couple shows, but one in particular that Gary was more of the celebrity than even Carrie was. I just remember we were going to dinner or something like that, and a guy opening the door for Gary in it wasn't a limo, but it was, like a limo type car. And Gary just jumping in like he was used to this kind of treatment. Like, oh yeah, thank you. And just jumps in. I don't even think Carrie Fisher was in the car. I think he just had his own driver.
Oh my gosh. I
don't know what the hell was going on there. Now that I think about it, I don't remember seeing Carrie there.
See, if we had an episode, we'd know what was going on.
Yeah, maybe Carrie and Gary had a fight.
Ooh.
And Carrie's like, "We're not going together. I don't want to see. I don't want to see you right now." And then Gary's like, "But I'm really hungry." And then she's like, "Well, tough. You can go. I'm staying. I'm staying back here. I'm going to sign some of these autographs. These Princess Leia photographs. I'm going to make some money so you can go out and do the town, Gary."
And it was in that moment of weakness that she probably signed the okay to use her likeness in that horrible CGI scene.
Yeah, she went back and had the call with who was the director of what was that? What was that movie called?
That was Rogue One, right?
Rogue One, yes.
I don't
Yeah.
remember who directed that.
I don't either, actually.
That's not good.
Or maybe it was such scar tissue that we blocked it right out of our brain. Although it wasn't the worst offender as far as I'm concerned. They later, what was his name? Ron? What's that guy's name?
Ryan Roundhead Johnson?
Yeah, Roundhead. Yeah, I think he later, definitely trumped the the Rogue One saga. But yeah, maybe that's it. At least in our heads, that's how the story went down. So Gary went out, did the town, while Carrie was left to do work and make some really bad decisions in the hotel room. Because maybe she makes bad decisions without Gary.
Ooh.
So whenever they're separated, Carrie just can't really. I don't know if this isn't bad taste, people.
Well, so you're saying with love.
We love Carrie and we love Gary, and we love Star Wars. So this is all said with love, and I hope it's entertaining.
Pixel says he enjoyed Rogue One, and we actually enjoyed Rogue One as well.
It's not bad. It's just that you kind of already know how it's going to end, and you kind of wish that maybe there was like a twist or two that you didn't see coming. But other than that, that Ryan whatever Roundhead, that director that came later. Yeah, he was way more offensive.
Yeah, like we talked about it, and I think just the biggest problem with Rogue One, it's not like it's awful. I'm not saying it's like a horrible Star Wars movie, but you do know how it ends, and also that movie offers nothing as a story for people who are just getting into Star Wars. Like, all the Star Wars movies, well, not all of them, all the original trilogy movies are pretty good stories on their own, but I feel like Rogue One was.
You mean the original three,
yes,
right? Okay.
Yeah, to clarify, the original three. Like, there was a lot of fan service in Rogue One that really doesn't give you anything, and it's kind of bad. That's my only real complaint.
You'll be dead.
Yeah, like what were those guys doing? The Cantina guys are there just so the fans can be like, hey, those are the guys in the Cantina scene. But that planet got like destroyed. Like, did those guys die there, or did they just leave? Right? Like, why were they there?
Yeah, they were on the next flight out before the planet. Did the whole planet meet its demise, or did they just blow up that section of the planet where they were hidden, those rebels?
You know what?
I don't think they blew up the whole planet.
But did they use the Death Star to do it? I don't even remember.
Yeah, they did, but they just blew up that like cave area that the one rebel guy that was losing his marbles with the respirator thing. Gosh. You know what, guys? I'm horrible with all names. This isn't like in general. You should hear me try to talk about like Lord of the Rings.
Well, the guy from Black Panther.
The guy with the pointy ears. Yeah, which guy with the pointy ears? The short, stubby guy, the dwarfy dude. Yeah, which dwarf? Like, that's how I talk about this stuff.
They got those funky fantasy names.
Yeah, fantasy, like made up in fantasy names. I always have a hard time with remembering.
Like, there's two different Jinn characters. There's Qui-Gon Jinn and Jyn Erso. Which her last name reminds me of that really bad movie, After Earth.
Oh yeah, the Ursa.
Yes.
The Ursa. But you know what? There's one Star Wars name that I always remember. Bib. Anyone? Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna.
Like that guy. Like I don't even remember Luke Skywalker's name half the time, but I always remember Bib Fortuna. Like, it's just such a weird name.
Some ugly Twi'lek with a working for Jabba.
Yeah, this is the guy with the python around his neck, right? Like gonna
It's
choke him out.
it's his weird head leku tails around his neck, and
I
he's grotesque.
always think he's like gonna choke himself out. Hi, I'm Bib Fortuna.
Remember as a kid, like when you were just desperate for Star Wars toys? Like I remember, like obviously I didn't get to see like the original time around Star Wars toys, but I was there for like the re-release in like the '90s or whatever, and I remember I would buy like the cheap Star Wars toys because at Toys R Us they just had like a bucket full of the ones that hadn't sold, and I just wanted them because they were Star Wars in general, and they'd always be things like that. Like it would always be like Bib Fortuna or like some random background character with a stick or something.
I was a hardcore Star Wars fan, but I was like, who's gonna buy the Bib Fortuna action figure? I mean, that's a sense of completion that goes beyond. Like, I'm a collector of things, but I was like, I'm gonna draw the line at Bib Fortuna. Like, I'm just gonna stay with the principles. Also, I was always broke, so and the action figures stuff kind of came a little later. I was a little old for that. I remember the first Kenner action when they first came out with those, so I was kind of the right age, just about like getting too old for them. But I do remember them. I do remember having some of them.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're like a true collector when you're buying things even you don't want, like for the sake of having the full collection,
I have to have the Bib Fortuna to complete the collection.
like something you'd never want on its own.
Or like Rose Tico.
Ooh, don't
Ooh.
draw that blood
Don't
art.
draw
Don't draw
that blood.
that
Don't go
blood.
there. Don't go there.
When I was at the comic book store recently, I saw a children's book that was about her, and it just had this really like bad amateur hour like cover, like Disney style cover of her just running down a hallway towards the. It was funny.
Setting the horses free or whatever.
Then it was all worth it.
So is it still working? Are we still good?
Yeah, we're still good. I'm just looking at my
We
shoulder.
we
I'm
put one of
going
the air
nowhere.
conditioned units right in front of like we're baking here, but the laptop is in the lap of luxury, literally the lap of
Yeah,
luxury.
the
So
chat says EVS's ears must be burning.
yeah, even I listened to his defense of Rose Tico, and I'm like, is he putting us on? Like, I don't know. Can we be real about Rose for you guys? Come on. How do you really feel about Rose Tico? Let's be honest here.
He's not here. He won't hurt you. You can tell the
No, he'll
truth.
just hurt Taylor.
No,
He'll come over and just put a boot right to her ink hand.
a Rose Tico figure.
Oh no. They got, not Tico or whatever he's. It's awesome.
It is. Do you have a character that like is stupid but you really love?
Do I?
Yes.
Oh gosh, I probably have a whole laundry list of stuff. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I do defend. I probably have more guilty pleasures than I have things that are universally liked, even in my musical tastes.
Ooh.
So yeah, I
Like
like.
what's a guilty pleasure band for you?
Uh, I don't know. It'd be like ABC, like Look of Love or what is it?
Ooh.
Whatever that. I love that album, but I will not defend it in an open argument. I will concede like ABC. That stuff's kind of it's kind of fey. It's kind of
The
it's.
chat is chiming in. Pixel says he likes Limp Biscuit. And
I'm I'm totally limping with the biscuit.
you're limping with the
I'm
biscuit.
totally. You know what? That would be one. See, there you go. There's one too. That's one of mine. All that rap rock stuff. Papa Roach, all that stuff would be um, until Linkin Park destroyed it with their let's put melody to like the rap rock. Like,
Emotions.
yeah, I just want to hear raw yelling and screaming. I don't want to hear let's sing along with this. And nothing against them, but I think the best was just Rage Against the Machine.
I agree.
But that's not a guilty pleasure. I think a lot of people like that band.
I think that's legitimately good. And I think there's an important distinction to be made. Like, you can like something for any reason you want, just don't insist that it's great. Like, there's plenty of movies that I know are bad that I like, and if anybody argued, like, that's a horrible movie, I would be like, I know. Like, I wouldn't try to defend it.
Yeah, I won't overly defend my guilty pleasures either. I'll just kind of concede, like, I can see how it's cheesy. There's a movie called Brain Donors, which is kind of a guilty pleasure of my wife and I. It's kind of it's a John Turturro's in it. I forget who's the other actor, but they're kind of doing the Marx Brothers, so it's kind of a Marx Brothers, like a modern take on the Marx Brothers, and I love that stupid stuff. I know that Big Trouble in Little China is kind of, for some people, it's absolutely obnoxious, but that's one of my guilty pleasures. I love that movie. Hell, even that stupid Green Hornet movie, the new one, I'll defend that. And I'm a big Green Hornet fan. And when I heard that they were going to play it up for like laughs and stuff like that, I must admit I was kind of indignant about it. But then I watched it. It actually holds up. It's a fun movie, and I think it does enough tribute to the original. But I wouldn't overly defend it. How do you defend the car like goes flying off a skyscraper, and then all that's left is the bench seat, the front bench seat, and then it has like a record player, and the record player starts playing classical music as a parachute opens up, and Green Hornet and Kato are on the bench seat, just kind of floating down from the wreckage, and had won the battle. That's the conclusion to the movie. That's how do you even greenlight that idea? That's horrible. But you know what? I loved it.
You know, like, at least that movie has like a comedic tone as opposed to like the latest Bond movie where he uses the ejector seat, but it's treated completely serious after every movie before that basically kept saying gadgets were stupid. So the audience is just like brainwashed and thinking gadgets were stupid, and then they do that.
Yeah, and that's not a guilty pleasure by any means. That's actually just a bad movie.
There's definitely a difference.
Which one was that? That wasn't Solace, because the one right before that with the
was good.
Was really good, with the guy with the ex-spy that had bit on the cyanide capsule. What the hell? Quantum of Solace? No, that's not.
Skyfall.
Skyfall. Skyfall's the best one. Yeah.
Oh, this one was called Spectre. Spectre was the latest one.
Yeah, it's a great name, and it was kind of trying to wrap up all the movies, and I applauded that as like some kind of overall like villain. And they cast that guy from Green Hornet. What is he was from?
Christoph Waltz.
Christoph Waltz. Yeah. And you're like, oh, how could this be bad? You know, it's a culmination of all those movies. They're going to wrap up the story, and we got that guy as a villain. This is going to be perfect. And then they kind of played it for shits and giggles, and I was like, what?
It is I, the architect of your agony or misery, he says.
Yeah, that was actual dialogue. Yeah.
Yeah, that was very, very... The chat agrees, by the way, that movie was really disappointing, and I think that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, I thought the franchise deserved more and everything. And, oh gosh, now that we're on Bond, I think the new controversy is Idris Elba. Is that how you say his name? As being possibly cast as Bond. And I even heard Kevin Grievous chimed in on this, and in the studio, and I know like some of the Comicsgate chats are about this, that there's like this weird, like we need diversity, but instead of making really diverse characters, they just kind of rebrand them in some kind of like ethnic, like, oh, now Bond is going to be a black guy. And like I said, I don't care if you make a black spy. Like, I don't care. Give Idris Elba, like, I think he's a great actor. I love him as an actor, and I think he's going to be the next big, you know, action star. But Bond is a white guy. And I hope this doesn't sound racist because I don't mean it to be. I just think that Bond is that guy. He's not that other guy. So I think trying to shoehorn somebody in, and Kevin Grievous said the same thing. He was just like we need to create new characters, Hollywood and comics that that represent different, ethnic backgrounds or whatever, but not kind of rebranding ones that already exist. Because also to me, and Taylor and I talked about this too, it's kind of like it becomes headline grabby, it becomes showy, because it's not about creating a character from the ground up and having that character sustain existence based on its own merits. It's kind of like it is, like Comicsgate gets this cash grab thing. It is a cash grab because it gets a headline. Because it's not just the new Bond, it's an all different Bond. And once again, I don't mind that at all. And actually, in those Daniel Craig Bond movies, there was the African American guy that was the American kind of spy that represented, I guess, the CIA or whatever it is, and like make that guy's story and use Idris Elba as that character, and just tell that guy's story, and even have maybe Bond crossover, make it like, it's in that reality, but he's not James Bond. He's a guy in that world, and I think all that stuff's great.
Yeah, I think that's sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that's a great idea, and the chat seems to agree with you. Big fans. Seems like Idris Elba has a lot of fans, and he is a really good actor. And Beowulf says Idris Elba is an amazing actor and would make a great spy, but James Bond is a white Scotsman. Period. Idris would play a spin-off character, and other people are saying he should play like 008, or basically get his own identity, different branding as a different spy.
God, I'd be all over that. I love Daniel Craig. I think, to me, other than like Sean Connery, the early Sean Connerys, when he was actually like double tapping people in the back of the head and like just crazy spy stuff that you'd never seen before, that stuff. But I thought that, like, even as bad as well, which one was it? Was it Casino Royale? I think I had some problems with some of the storytelling, but even like the problems I had with that movie, and it was just structural. It wasn't character or anything like that. I thought it still was a great movie, all the way up to Spectre. I think they were really good. But could you imagine him? Is it Ibis? How do you say his name? Idris?
Idris, yeah.
Idris. Sorry about that. Have him like acting opposite Daniel Craig,
Ooh.
even if it's like Daniel Craig like passing the baton to that guy because Daniel Craig's a little older or something. I don't know. I think that would be freaking awesome, and I don't think it would take away from this new character at all. And then there's another casting that they were talking about, and I think it would be. It almost seems like too perfect, and I don't think they'll do it. Is who's the guy that plays Superman?
Oh,
Henry
Cavill.
Cavill. That guy as Bond, and holy shit, man! I think that guy he could bring the intensity of like the Daniel Craig character, and he's kind of good looking, like the Pierce Brosnan, or even the Roger Moore.
Yeah, he's got the look for sure.
Yeah, so he could kind of blend those two different Bonds together. And he's a big guy, and he does all those fight scenes good. But I think that, I don't know if they feel like maybe he's too recognizable as Superman, or that he's already part of that franchise. Is it I Spy? No, what is it? Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
And he's pretty damn good in that.
Yeah, the chat says as long as they do, like Mike Miller says, it's send Cavill to take a bit more acting classes. He has a lot of potential with more training.
Oh, Henry, yeah, I agree.
I think he's I think that's kind of inspired casting, actually. If they used him as a Bond.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a big guy too. It was funny because I think Taylor and I both cracked up with the new Mission Impossible, where he's fighting like Henry Cavill is fighting Tom Cruise, and it's like, what's wrong with this picture? Like that Henry Cavill would destroy that guy.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is like way older than him and he's so tiny. And then they try to frame up the scene like that it's that like really threatening. Like, it looks like they're in a bathroom or something. It's all threatening and then like Cavill just like he like punches the air and he looks all huge and it's like how are they gonna make Tom Cruise not look 4 feet tall against that guy? Like it's just gonna look really silly.
Or how are they going to have him beat it? I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know if Tom Cruise's character gets his ass kicked or not. But I just think that based on the trailer, it looked like Tom Cruise kind of holds his own, and I'm just thinking Tom Cruise wouldn't even get that far.
DJ says Superman versus Mighty Mouse.
Oh yes.
Yeah, it just like it's gonna look like that bad like Yoda fight scene where he's fighting Dooku. He has to keep jumping in the air.
Yeah, let's not get on the Dooku thing. Like,
Oh right.
really, like an old man like fighting a young Jedi. Like, what the hell? Like, why couldn't Anakin kick that dude's ass?
It's Dooku.
It's Dooku. Like, oh yeah, okay. I forgot he's an old man, and Anakin could never hurt him.
Star Tiger says that he thinks that's actually a good idea. He said Michael Fassbender would be the perfect 007.
Oh my
What do you think?
gosh. Oh man, if that opens up writing potential too, like you could play like a really smart double crossing like Bond,
Ooh.
like because that guy, I don't know if Fassbender can bring like kind of a devious side, like he could be like almost evil in at times because I thought like some of the Bond stuff um, that they did early on with Sean Connery. Like, I don't think Connery always seemed like he was the good guy, and some of the early Daniel Craig stuff too. That it was like he was kind of making some bad decisions, and some people were dying at his hand and
Mm.
stuff like that. But that Fassbender could even be more conniving. Um, the reason I like Craig is because Craig looked like a smart. Like my favorite thing that they did with that character is he didn't talk a lot and he just did things like so he didn't sit and talk to him and like debate like how to do this or why or anything like that. He just kind of did things, and then there was consequences based on his actions, and then there would be conversation that would come after. But he was definitely, from my point of view, he was like the ultimate, at least in this generation, man of action, because he literally was like he didn't sit debate anything. He just kind of, this is what I'm going to do. And a lot of times he didn't even really have orders to do it. He was following hunches and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very he has an intensity about him and he comes off as very capable. Like you said, he doesn't say much, but he really is like he seems very competent as a spy.
Yeah, he doesn't sit and explain why he's going to do something or anything like that. And then if he does screw up or get somebody killed, he doesn't like overly like go like boo-hoo or whatever. He's more of like, now I'm gonna go fix it. Like when what was that Nigerian knot or whatever, I forget
Yeah.
which one it was, and then he goes to that guy because he was in love with the in the previous movie, and then he just goes and he tells that one girl to leave, and because she had one of those like necklaces too, and then he just like, it
That
took
was awesome.
it was like you just thought he was going to destroy that guy. And then just to show that he was kind of a guy that could evolve and wasn't totally ruled by just emotion, he didn't kill that guy. And then when he walks out, and then M was like totally like, okay, he's dead. Let's go clean this mess up. And then it was like, no, he's still there. And then she's just like, oh shit. This sharp, what did she call him? Blunt instrument can
Yes.
learn. He can be that. So God, I love those. If it hasn't come through to you guys, I really love the Daniel Craig stuff.
I think like everything like just that scene alone that you brought up like it shows why M trusts him. Like he's very capable and she doesn't have to she knows that she can leave things to him and he'll do it in the right way.
Yeah, she might not be totally down with the way he goes about doing it, but she trusts him enough to go and do it and not get into his way too much. Um, yeah, I thought that stuff was really great.
And
But
they had
either
great chemistry.
yeah, but either way, if they get Idris Elba in there, or if they get that Henry Cavill, I think they would both be great choices. I do think just acting wise that Idris would be better. So what was it, Mike or whoever said about like Henry? I do agree. I think you could probably get a more complex character out of that guy. Um, but just kind of I'm kind of tired of like the business decisions of like, well, let's just change this character
Mm-hmm.
and shoehorn him in, as this other guy or whatever. Um, I just don't think that's to me. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel authentic, and it's just not the character.
Yeah, I think it kind of does. It kind of does a disservice in a way. Like it kind of does the opposite of what they're trying to do. Um, because like everybody seems to really like that Idris Alba, and I like him a lot too. And it's kind of like just like in comics now, like you were talking about how they're majorly doing it. It's a topic of like a lot of debate. Like if you're a writer and you have like a great story in you about like this like young African American young like man that's kind of growing up in the city and dealing with some stuff and decides to be like a superhero. I think it's kind of like that's a great idea for a story, but it's almost a disservice to make it a Spider-Man story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because well, I have a problem with even beyond just the racial thing or like turning them into a woman or a man or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
is that it just isn't that character anymore. And so if anybody can be Spider-Man, then it's not exactly this freak once in a lifetime thing that happened, or that Destiny chose this guy out of the billions of people that existed, that somehow there could be another Hulk. Well,
Yeah.
then why is Bruce Banner's Hulk so interesting if there can just be another Hulk? If there can be a She-Hulk, then what's the big deal? You know what I mean? Like if there could be another Spider-Man, then what's the big deal? The only when they did the Spider-Verse and there were different timelines and stuff, I thought that was better because I obviously a sci-fi guy, so I buy into those concepts like, oh, there's different realities, Earth 1, Earth 2, all that stuff that DC used to do.
Mm-hmm.
I was totally fine with that. But it's weird, like in the same reality, to have, I don't know, the same accident that happened to the Flash happened to Barry Allen, happened to Wally West. I know they
Yeah.
changed it up since then, but it's just it was a weird thing. Like this freak one in a bazillion chance for this thing to happen, and we're supposed to buy into that, but then we're supposed to go, oh, it could happen again.
To anyone.
Right. And then the exact same conclusion happens like, oh, I'm going to be Spider-Man, or you know what I mean? Like it's just weird. Some characters lend themselves to legacy, some characters lend themselves to multiples like the Green Lantern Corps or X-Men or stuff like, or even like Batman and Robin. Like for some reason it seems like Robin, and they have done it where he just steps into the Batman's shoes. It seems like it's a legacy type of story anyway, so it kind of makes a logical sense to me,
Built into the concept, yeah.
right? That he could just step in if Batman went away. But I think it's weird, like when it's like it's a once in a lifetime kind of accident or like thing, and then for some reason the end result is exactly the same for this new guy. He's
Well,
like,
it
oh, go ahead.
it almost feels like racist to me to be like the only way we can sell this black female character is to tell everybody she's Tony Stark. Like you don't have confidence in like your creation. Like you don't think Riri's a good enough character to give her a chance. You just want to like basically be like, "Oh, well, if people buy Iron Man stuff, so the only way this character will succeed is if she's Iron Man. Like they don't even have confidence in their own creation.
But yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think what they are is they're, I don't know, cash grab might not be the word for it, but it's a headline grab
Yeah.
because those things make mainstream news. So if like, Spider-Man is now, what is he? Is he Puerto Rican and African American? What is his
Oh,
national?
Miles.
Yeah, Miles
Yeah, he's like
Morales.
Hispanic and black.
Okay, so I don't read the books, obviously. So, they announce, Marvel announces that, and they get a headline in Entertainment Weekly or in Variety or something like that. Um, and so they do things as like kind of a, I don't know, SJW liberal, like pat on the back, like, oh, we're progressive and we care.
It's not
But,
even genuine.
but I think it's totally disingenuous. And I think that it's not really building a character from scratch or a new character. Um, it's just kind of shoehorning this other thing, and the reason it gets a headline is because those are important characters that you're tapping them into. Um, but how do you make new iconic characters? How do you make new Black Panther characters or any other type characters if they don't stand on their own 2 feet?
You're like, what if Black Panther was just Black Batman? Like, then he wouldn't have stood the test of time. Like, the reason he stood the test of time is because he was his own character.
Yeah. He succeeded or failed based on his own merits, um, but it wasn't shoehorned in on something else. And even as a kid, I didn't like when there was like another character that had the same powers or same abilities. I think that the Marvel movies, as far as just an observation, are going to have to start changing things up as well. But they do it this way, and it does work, as the villain is the hero, but just the flip side of the same coin. So most of the time, Tony Stark is fighting another Iron Man, or that Ant Man is
Mm-hmm.
fighting another Ant Man, or the Hulk is fighting Abomination, or whatever. So they're usually fighting themselves in most of the Marvel movies. It's a formula, and it's probably not going to change until there's some kind of lack of success. But as far as like knocking off the same character, and make a villain out of them, I don't mind those as much, as an idea.
Yeah, as a story idea, I don't think it's as bad.
Yeah,
You can do interesting things.
because you get to exercise the ideas like, well, what if this didn't go well? Or it's like a what if, you know, Superman wasn't raised by the Kents or something like that. So then it makes this bad character. Yeah.
That's something that we've talked about before too. Like, there are no what if stories anymore. Everything is just like there's so many stories that have come out that could have been what ifs and now are just like canon and they kind of don't work, in my opinion.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, I liked, was it uh, that Marvel had the What If? I think it was actually called What If, and then DC had Elseworlds, and I liked those stories because then I think out of canon you can explore some of these ideas and you can give writers like, hey, let your imagination go crazy, and you can entertain these ideas, and I think they're fun to read. But I think they kind of get weird when Riri becomes like not an Elseworlds tale, but she becomes like a character that we're told that's supposed to be important and groundbreaking, but only because we're being told it. That not people, well, the masses anyways, aren't going, oh my gosh, Riri is better than Tony
Yeah.
Stark. You know.
And as the chat's saying, like nobody reads those books anyway.
I don't, that's for sure. But I haven't read a Marvel comic in probably 10 or 15 years.
I think if Marvel's strategy was actually working, I'd be reading Marvel books because there's a lot of books that like on paper would fit my demographic and I don't read a single one.
And I'm not opposed to, like trying new things, but just don't have the window dressing of like, this is important. And then also, this is important, but if you don't like it, then you're a racist or you're sexist or you're whatever. It's like, oh my gosh, now you're going to guilt trip me because I don't like something. This is insane. It's like, what are they doing it? They're doing it to. We just talked about this the other day.
Oh,
Because they did it to Ghostbusters, but we're talking about there's doing it to a new movie. Oh, they're doing it to the Teen Titans thing.
that's right.
So the new Teen Titan, or it's just called Titans, I guess.
Yeah, they're doing what we like to call the Ghostbusters tactic, where you know, something comes out, the fans respond poorly to it, and give a lot of criticism, and then they basically find a spin doctor to frame it up so that the fans are wrong, or that the people saying this are just racist or sexist or whatever, and then they cherry pick like a screen cap of like one person's comment, and then it's like, if you don't like this, then you're just a terrible racist or sexist
And then the
person.
comment is something even like, Starfire isn't an African American. She has orange skin. So if you say that, which is not racist unto itself, it's just an observation, then they spin it like, well, you're racist because you don't want to see this. But we talk about here, Gamora. I didn't hear a lot of backlash from the fan community saying, how dare they do that with that character from Guardians of the Galaxy. I think everybody embraced it because, you know what? They got a great actress to play the part, and she nailed it, and it was an interesting and fun character to watch on screen. So I think the reason people didn't lambaste it or find any criticism is because it was good.
Yeah.
So even if it's different or if it changes, it goes into a different direction, one that you like, oh, I didn't agree with this casting or this actor, but it still ends up becoming good in spite of that. I think that's great. But I think what people were really responding to wasn't the fact that they were racist. I think they were responding to the fact that Starfire is orange. Like, it's like if you did Gamora and didn't paint the skin green.
Which is the difference, like, they're both black actresses, but Gamora was green and looked like the character.
Yeah, I think that's what people are responding to more than like they're racist and they're horrible and that. And they also blame the old fan base, like Zack Snyder would say, "Oh, well, this isn't the old guy's Superman." It's like, no, I don't even know what that character that you created is, because if it doesn't have the basis of what the character is, then it's not really that character anymore. You created a different character that has the same uniform or whatever.
Yeah, and Pixel said this, and we talked about this too, is like, the woman that's playing Starfire is attractive, and she doesn't look like, she looks like she could play a good Starfire, but they gave her a horrible costume.
Yeah.
And the product looks bad. Like, it's not her race. Like, she doesn't have the Starfire costume. She looks unrecognizable as Starfire. So
yeah, I think that's what people are responding to more so. And maybe there's some people that are going, like saying some glib, crap about like, oh, like some kind of racial baloney. And there's always going to be those people, but that doesn't mean the whole fan base is like that or whatever. And that's why I think Comicsgate and I think these chats are good, because I think that we put the flip side of things out there and don't let the liberal media speak for us all the time, because I'm kind of sick to death of that, of these false truths. Like, I hear this stuff like with Ghostbusters. You know what? I saw Ghostbusters, and I think if that movie would have been called something else and it was those 3 actresses or 4 actresses and stuff like that, I think I would have probably liked it more, and I think most people would too. And it's not because it was women, it was just because maybe it wasn't the right women. Maybe the story wasn't that strong. And just maybe that shadow from the original franchise is just so immense,
yes,
that there's nothing that could have taken its place unless it was pure genius. And let's face it, everything we create is hit and miss. No one knows how people are going to really respond to this stuff. So, it being astronomically amazing and better than the original, the odds were really, really stacked against it. So, but those expectations are still there from the consumer standpoint, and rightly so. I mean, you're tying it into
Yeah.
Ghostbusters. That's what they want to see. They want to see something equally as good, if not better, than the original. But then the spin doctrine became, oh, there's a bunch of like straight guys that are all macho whatevers, and they can't bide to the fact that they're women. And I don't think that was the case at all. I thought the movie was okay. I didn't think it was great. We've talked here, like, if we were going to spin the movie, what we would have done differently and stuff like that. And at least Taylor and I think that they're better ideas. Um,
We could
but
dedicate a whole chat to that.
yeah, but the thing is, I think by calling the fan base names and flipping on the fan base is a wrong tactic as well. I just think it's you made a bad movie, just fess up to it and move on. That's it. I make a bad comic. I it's like, oh, I did the best I could that month. Sorry.
And
You
that's why
know?
they do it, though, like to make an excuse so that the movie isn't bad. The fans are wrong.
Yeah. And the reason the Titans is doing what they're doing right now is because they have to protect that franchise. Like, they have X amount of dollars invested in that franchise, so they have to figure out something that works quick. And the racism card or whatever card is the best way to do that. So they play
Mm-hmm.
that card, and then instantly they get a whole group of people to back them up.
Well,
Like,
because who
oh yeah,
wouldn't?
those
Like,
people are sexist, those people are racist, those people are whatever, and just sign off on it.
yeah, like who wouldn't defend the show if they truly believed that's what people were doing?
And just to back up, if you were a true fan of Titans, which I believe the people that are speaking out against this are, um, they want to see a good Titans show.
Yeah.
They want to see a Titans show. Period. No one wants to see their favorite thing done poorly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And that's what happened with Ghostbusters too. They are making they're making a movie that has a huge fan base, and then they're just ignoring what the fan base says. And it's like, this is your main demographic. Like, if you're not appealing to them, then who are you making this for?
Yeah, because why are you even calling it Ghostbusters
Mm-hmm.
if you're not trying to tie into Ghostbusters fans? And then because the Ghostbusters fans don't like what you did, then you call them names? What are we, like, school kids? Like, this is like school kid stuff. Like, you're in elementary school calling people names.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's really silly.
The
Should we wrap this up? What should we
Yeah,
do?
let's
Do we
wrap
have any
this
good
up.
questions? Because we said it was going to be a Q&A. Is there anything you guys want to get on before we call it a day?
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, get them in soon. The chats looks like they're busy talking about the Starfire the Starfire debacle in costume. And somebody actually brought out, which I think is true, like it's kind of important that Starfire is orange or looks like Starfire because she won't always be in her costume, and that's how she's recognizable.
Yeah, because that becomes a character beat. Like, how does she fit in? She's got orange skin, so she's obviously an alien full time. Like, she can't get away from that. No one except Donald Trump has orange skin that I know of.
Yeah, like it doesn't really. It is like it's kind of an underratedly important piece, actually.
Yeah, it's part of the character.
People agree with you on Ghostbusters. Um, yeah, it looks like we'll be clean to call it next time. You guys think of some questions. You're getting Art at a time where he can give you an in-depth answer, sometimes more so than the portfolio reviews.
Yeah, guys. So thanks again, and thanks for bearing with us on the technical things. I wish I could say it will never happen again. but we're still kind of newbies at this. So technology is definitely not my forte, and Taylor's being thrown a lot of new stuff constantly on how to, make all this technical stuff work. So thanks for your patience, and we hope to keep getting these shows better and better. So thanks.
Bye.